Hi, I'm Jerry Barmash, and welcome to the Here Now the News podcast. And today, my guest is actor Jim Meskimen. Now, you may have seen him on TV, you may have heard his voice, uh, also on video games. Right now, he's in the second season of Landman, streaming on Paramount Plus. Jim joins me now. Thanks for a few minutes today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Jerry. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. And I think we met once before. I think I had you on a few years ago.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Good to be
Uh,
back.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm starting this up again. It's been a couple of years, and I figured, you know what, you're the one I want to talk to first.
Wow.
Let's start with this. How is working with Billy Bob Thornton on Landman?
Oh, it's very nice. It's a treat, really. He's an exceptional actor, and he's a very easy guy to work with. Very professional, very supportive. He knows his job very well, and he's a great artist. I don't know what to say. I watch his performances just like the rest of the world, and I go, boy, that's just 100%. It's just authentic. It's honest. I strive to be as good an actor as Billy Bob Thornton.
I see you've posted on Instagram some clips
Yeah.
with him. Did you know him before?
No. When I worked with him in season 1, I, you know, I auditioned. I got the role, and I was really looking forward to it. But I'd never met him, and I'd seen interviews with him, and sometimes, if you kind of look around at some Billy Bob Thornton interviews, he can be kind of testy, and he's had an interesting career. He's certainly not shied away from living life. So I asked around some of my Hollywood friends, and I said, "Have you ever worked with Billy Bob?" And they were like, "Yeah, no, I didn't really get much data, right?" So somebody told me, "No, he's a good guy." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we'll see." It could go either way. But when I got to the set, he was very warm and easy to talk to, easy to work with, easy to rehearse with, just exactly what you'd want a big star of a show to be patient, and businesslike and professional and friendly.
It seems like already you've known him for, just from these little clips, like you've known him for years.
I know we struck up a friendship, and he knows I'm an impressionist, and he said so. On the second, I guess when I came back for the second season, he said, "So, have you been working on me?" So he's tolerant as well, and that's nice. But yeah, easy guy to get to know. I mean, he's not a fancy guy. And he doesn't want to be a fancy guy. So I've worked with a lot of big celebrities. I've worked with a lot of Oscar winners, and in the main, I have to say, once you get into a working kind of situation with them, where you're not like a fan coming up to them on the street or in a restaurant, if you're in a working situation with them, most of these people are very easy to work with. They're very professional, and they know, because they've been in it for a long time, that they know what it is and they know what it isn't. And unless someone is like a you know a serial butthole, uh, they're very easy to deal with. And I mostly work with really great people. I can think of many of them.
Have any other actors you've worked? As you said, you worked with some, A-list actors along the way. Any of them given you any advice?
Uh, the only thing that comes to mind, I mean, generally when you're working with people, they don't, unless you ask them for advice, they don't say, "Hey, let me give you a little advice," unless you're really screwing it up,
Right, right.
And recently I worked on Chicago Fire again. I've been recurring on that show as well, with Dermot Mulroney. And he said, he gave me a bit of advice in the scene. And at first I was kind of like, keep it to yourself, let me make my own choices here. I didn't say that, but in my mind, I was kind of like, thanks for nothing. But he said he should sit forward. We're seated at a conference table, and he said, sit forward because your energy dissipates when you go backwards. And I was
Oh,
kind of like, well, I'll see about that, and then I did it, and I'm like, that really was much better. So that was a little piece of just TV acting energy advice that he was extending as a friendly gesture.
right. Just a
But
little technique.
yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, The great thing about really good actors is they realize that a person is a fellow artist and they bring to it whatever their choices are. And who knows, maybe it seems wrong to you, or gee, that's not how I would have done it. But that's the richness of humanity, basically, is that we bring our own viewpoint to things. And that's what makes interesting television and film. It's like, well, it's not always the same thing. When it's shows that are always the same kind of they're just boring, they're just dreary. And things that change things up a bit and do something unexpected, that's why we love Robin Williams, wasn't it? I mean, my God, he came out of left field all the time. I find it easy to do his voice, hard to duplicate his viewpoint, because it was all over the galaxy.
At this point, I'm going to certainly probably get back to Robin Williams at some point again. I do want to point out, as we're talking about actors and great actors and you worked with, well, your mom is the great Marion Ross, of course,
Mhm.
beloved mom from Happy Days. By the way, just turned 97. God bless
97.
her.
Yeah,
How is she doing?
she's doing just fine. She's at home. She's enjoying her retirement.
That's great. What did she give you advice about wanting to, get into this business?
Oh, often, yeah. And she was a great mentor, and she helped me a lot in ways that only a mom can. And chiefly, the most important thing she gave me was, a look at what is the life of an actor, and how much of it, how much of it do you just sit back and wait for things to happen, and how much do you chase things and create things and make things happen. And in her case, I definitely learned the lesson that don't sit around, get things going, do plays, create stuff, meet people, hustle, because that's how she got on Happy Days.
Well, I do want to, point out we brought up at the beginning about impressions, and
Yes.
you've touched on a few already. I would say, I don't know if others would, but I think you're a master of impressions. How many are in your repertoire? I could only guess.
I don't know. I think I'm in the 80 or 90 number. I mean, I have to do a lot of different kind of voices for different assignments, and sometimes it's something I get asked, can you do this guy's voice? I go, I never heard of him. Well, let me look him up. I go, yeah, I could probably do that pretty well. And there are all kinds of degrees of perfection, and I guess, but I would say something like that. I'm probably under 100, but it changes too. I mean, I learn new ones. I discard old ones. There are ones that I used to be able to hit that I can't hit anymore.
Hmm.
There's a whole crop of new guys coming in that are like in their 20s that are like, you know what, this is this is not my field here. I'm really specializing in a lot of people in their 70s, 80s, because that's people that I'm familiar with, and the best actors. I mean, if you take Anthony Hopkins, for example, the great Anthony Hopkins, Tony, he's I forget, he's in his 80s, and Morgan Freeman is in his 80s too. And Patrick Stewart, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is approaching 80 or nearly 80. So these are all people that I feel like I've got some advantage in that I'm very familiar with them. My vocal equipment is, it's not hard for me to sound like an old guy anymore. Younger actors always want to sound like old guys. We imitate old guys all the time. We kind of can't wait to be able to really duplicate Ian McKellen, for example. We want to be able to have that sort of resonance and fluidity. And, it's kind of cute to hear somebody in their 30s do that. But it's not convincing. You're like, nice try.
Right.
Now I roll out of bed and I can do
it. Are you working on any voices now? Any new ones?
Well, people ask that a lot. Like I go to the office and look up new impressions, but this is my office, by the way, this booth. So I do work on things here, but it's mostly on a need to work on it basis. Like here's a job coming up, or there's an audition or something like that. But I'm not actively any more than I always am. I'm always kind of listening, and if I find a voice that I'm interested in, that I like, then I'll give it a try. And I'm doing that kind of all the time. It's sort of my lifestyle. It's like when I meet somebody or when I hear somebody on the radio or in a animated thing, I'm like, what's that sound? It's like, it's sort of like this. What is that unusual? I wonder if I can duplicate, and I listen to see how close I can get.
Right.
And if it's something that's like, oh, that could be useful, then I'll sort of stick it in my back pocket, in my mind and have it around. That's how it was with Morgan Freeman. I started imitating Morgan Freeman back in the early 90s before he was really, he was a big star and a very big talent, but he was not known particularly as a narrator that he became known in. With the Penguin movie, I think, was the first big kind of realization that we had that, Morgan Freeman's got a fantastic voice, But before that, he was just kind of like the great actor Morgan Freeman. And so I remember realizing that there was a certain area in my face where I could bounce the sound off of. And if I ever needed it and anyone ever asked, I would kind of have it. And then it came up, and there was an interview or an audition for a David Letterman skit where they needed a Morgan Freeman narrator. It was a Shawshank Redemption parody. And I got the job, and I went, okay. When you get paid, it's very validating. You're like, they hired me. They listened to probably 60 people. I think I do this pretty good.
You do. You definitely do. Is it hard to go in and out like you're doing now, like to go in and out of voices?
Not particularly. I mean, for me, it's very easy because Jerry, is it Jerry? Can I call you Jerry?
Oh, yes.
Because I practice. I practice going in and out
all the time. It doesn't matter, it's just a shift. It's like uncrossing and crossing your legs. It's just basically the same mechanism, but it's inside your head.
What was the do you remember the first voice that you did?
Well, I used to say it was the Cowardly Lion because I remember vividly watching the Cowardly Lion and probably, trying to do my "If I were king of the forest" when I was 3,
If I were king of the forest.
But really, the one that I recall where I actually felt like, okay, I nailed that, for better or for worse, was when I was about 8. And if you remember, Tiny Tim, Herbert Buckingham Curry was his real name, and he was a massive star in the 60s for a short time with his hit, "Tiptoe Through the Tulips with Me." And as an 8-year-old, I could just, devour that. I did a really good job of it. And I recognized, I was like, I have matched that. I've done a good impression of that. I did not at that point dream of being a big impressionist or being like Rich Little, even, who I admired. And but I didn't think, I've always just done it because I like it. And in recent years, the last only really the last 15 or so years, have I really kind of knuckled down and marketed myself that way and put that as the tip of the spear, if you will, of my career.
And also, I guess, with social media, right, as the timing of that and doing more with it online.
Yeah, that's definitely helped because it's given me an outlet for all this stuff. It used to be I'd have to go out on the street and, stop somebody and say, "Hey, how do you like my Gregory Peck? Where are you going? Wait a minute, come back here."
Do you enjoy, I see you do it a lot, the what is it, Jim Impressions that you do on Instagram?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I like doing it. It's fun. My daughter and I do it together. She's helps me with my marketing, and we came up with this thing that has had some viral hits. Not recently, but over the last few years. Earlier this year too, we had some viral ones. And she legitimately ambushes me and says, "Hey, Dad, do an impression of, this actor in this situation." She writes them ahead of time, but I'm not privy to what she's created. And
so that's really all off the cuff for you.
Yeah, it's all off the cuff. I don't have time to rehearse them. It's harder and less spontaneous anyway.
Right.
Planning ahead is not really part of my success in this area. So the more I script things for myself, the more opportunities are to not quite do it right.
It's great. She just gets you and just goes over and boom. Can you do whatever, Tommy
Yeah,
Lee Jones opening
that's right.
squeezing a lemon or whatever. And
That's right.
it's so mundane things. But it's great. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and it's always fun. And I think the improv part of it. I did improv for years and years, and Taylor, my daughter, is also a good improviser. So we appreciate the spontaneity and the value of that. And I think, especially social media now, we want to see things that are authentic. We don't want to see things that are canned or planned or overproduced. We'll leave that to AI, and we will do the raw human stuff.
We'll get right back to the podcast. But first, I want to tell you about my book, Here Now the News. I spoke to dozens of industry professionals for a fun look at the TV news business in New York. Here Now the News is entertaining and enlightening, with dozens of stories about the legends who delivered the news night after night. Pick up your copy on Amazon, available in paperback, Kindle, and my own narrated audiobook version. What do you think of AI right now with what it's doing? A lot with celebrities as well.
Yeah, well, it's perplexing, and it's a tool. Obviously, tools can be misused. I have not much dabbled in it myself. I still like old school stuff to do myself. I'm teaching myself to animate the old school way, or fairly old school. At least it's digital. It's not paper and acetate. I, I can see where a lot of the business, sort of the side business that I do, providing voices for TV and film and animation, I can see how that's going to be a big gouge taken out of that. It just makes sense. It's tremendously time efficient and cheaper. I think all these things, it's almost like a balloon. You squeeze one part of a balloon and something else swells out on another side. And the more we put the squeeze on actors in one area, their value will increase as we are living beings, and real communication only comes from actual living beings, right? It would be like going out in the garden and picking a piece of plastic fruit and and thinking, well, this will make a really good meal.
Right.
Well, it looks good up to a point. Don't stir it in the pot. And for God's sake, don't put it in your mouth. I think authentic live performing is going to become more valuable. Real human communication with all its quirks and flaws. Human quirks and flaws, not hallucinations from AI, are going to be more valuable, and we're going to listen to them more, and they're going to have more power. A lot of us are being fooled now because we're unfamiliar with the technology, and it's going a lot farther than we all thought it was going to go, a lot quicker. I even get fooled, sure, but I'm also not putting my trust, and I'm not putting much attention on those things either. If I see a video and it has a stink of AI on it, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm going to give you about 3 seconds and then I'm getting out of here. And
Right.
I'd rather listen to some an episode of the Merv Griffin show from 1974 than listen to something that was just created yesterday by someone on a keyboard that has no human being attached to it.
Right. Yeah. No, I get sucked into these things many times on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, it's so and it's not, and and you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And,
Wait a minute.
And then you think, wait a minute, this is the future. But is that really what it's for? To be fooling people, duping people with celebrities?
Yeah,
It's one
surely.
thing if they're not alive, but people who are alive.
Yeah, surely it has some grander purpose. Yeah,
Right.
I agree with you.
You do some current and former politicians, certainly. Is it harder today? I don't mean this minute, but is it harder now to poke fun in this climate?
It's not my tremendous field of interest, the political world. It's so booby trapped that I'm not like some impressionists are very focused on doing keeping up to date with politics. I'm not. I find it a bit toxic for me, and I don't watch much of it. I don't consume much of it. I don't have much contact with it. But there's people like you can't avoid them, like Joe Biden, who you could not get away from. And that was yeah. And
And Donald Trump too. Donald Trump, and these are people that are ubiquitous. They're all over the place. You can't miss them.
but mostly I'm imitating now other people that I hear that do him. I don't listen to it very much either. So but I do feel like there's been a tremendous polarization, obviously, and people are really snippy about things. And because, there are people that have been whipped into a frenzy on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to see why, because with the advent of all this technology, the stakes are very high. The effects that a single person can have on the rest of the world are very high. And that's been growing since Hiroshima, really. Never before in history have individuals been able to affect so many people negatively.
Yeah.
With the push of a button, if you will.
Right.
So, people are rightfully a bit antsy about the future and man's survival on this planet. It makes sense. And so the stakes seem very high. Now, the people in the media, a lot of the people in the media and in all the different aspects of the media, newspapers as they exist today, and television shows and radio, they're a little compromised, aren't they? Because part of their job is getting people interested and worked up and clickbaity, and they got to hear the next story. And if we can upset them a little bit or worry them, that's a good thing for them. And so that creates a climate of everybody's a little too wound tight. And comedy is supposed to loosen that. And I think Ricky Gervais is doing, if I could say of anybody, Ricky Gervais does a great job of letting the air out of that completely, letting the air out of the balloon, and saying things that are taboo and not giving a hang about it. And unfortunately, not all comedians have the confidence, the courage, and really the protection that he has. And when I say protection, I just mean he's kind of unassailable. He's won every award. He's a very wealthy man, and he's freaking funny, and he knows how to be funny.
Do you think some comedians, impressionists, whatever it is, when it comes to, if it's politics or if you're doing a Trump or a Biden or whoever it is on the other side, that you're in effect alienating half of your audience?
Depends on how you do it, right?
Mhm.
I have a friend, John D. Domenico, who has been the Trump impersonator for industrial shows and all kinds of things for decades. I mean, I think he started, I don't know, 2014 or maybe earlier.
Hmm.
And he manages to, ride the line. He pokes fun, but he's not like Alec Baldwin, who was just slamming. He's
Right.
a little more even-handed. I believe he's worked in front of audiences that were pro-Trump and audiences that were anti-Trump. So it really depends on your approach, what you're using that impression for.
Mhm.
And in my case, I don't like to do impressions that are weaponized, if you will.
Mhm.
Doesn't say I haven't done it, but I don't prefer it. So I like to do appreciative homages and kind of continue the flow of the personality that already exists a little bit. And for people that are not tremendously controversial, like Tommy Lee Jones, for example. Now, Tommy Lee Jones, you can say a lot of things about him, but he doesn't seem to be very politically outspoken. He's humanistically outspoken, I suppose, and just tremendously impatient.
That's great. You don't hear a lot of people do it. You do some impressions that are not the average ones, and that's one of them.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's fun. And again, it comes from a place of admiration. I've admired Tommy Lee Jones's performing for decades, and first time I saw him, I was like, "Who is this guy?"
I think a lot of people liked Alan Rickman for that reason, because there was something so remarkable and unique about his delivery, and we all miss him tremendously as a result.
And and when I watch your clips online, and I do the test. I close my eyes or I turn the phone away, and it is just incredible,
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
just amazing. Um, what are some of the impressions that get the most requests? When you do your online on Instagram.
Well, a lot of people like Patrick Stewart, and there's good reason for it. I mean, he's got a charming personality, and we know a lot about him, and he's very articulate. And even if he says something rather mundane and everyday, it has the ring of authority to it. So, that's a good one. And people love Robin Williams. They always do. I mean, it's a soft spot in everyone's heart. I think a lot of people grew up with Robin and those crazy performances and those wonderful characterizations. And so, yeah, we miss him. We need to fill the vacuum somehow. It's impossible, but we try.
Yeah.
And
Is that your favorite, Robin Williams, to do?
Yeah, sometimes. It is. I mean, I always feel a little bit like I try not to criticize myself, but he had such a remarkable genius and speed, velocity of thought and creativity, and I often find myself not quite up to the task.
Wow.
but I can match certainly the sound, and sometimes I can get a bright idea or two.
And the energy of it. Right?
The energy,
Frenetic
exactly. A lot of energy. Yeah, and I've been doing it for Disney for a long time for the Blue Genie character, and you work up a sweat. It's very aerobic impression.
To get your best at a to master a voice, how long does it take?
It takes as long as it takes. Some guys I'm still working on. I've been working on them for a long time. They're a moving target too. They change. They get older, as we said, and but in the main, as I say, I'm very familiar with my own voice, and if I hear something, I can judge how close I am, and it's very quickly. I know my own equipment. I know what I can deliver, and so sometimes it's very fast. Other times it takes more of a figure out, and it kind of depends on how important is this. Do I need to do something that's, there's different things in movies, for example, when they replace an actor's voice, if they don't use AI, and if they use an actor to, like, say, for, the airplane version of a movie, and they need to replace some of the 4-letter words or longer letter words with something a little more public, they will hire actors like me to substitute the word monkey feather, for example, in the character's voice. And if it has to match really, really super well, then you got to really knuckle down and study and do that. If you're just doing a stand-up act or entertaining a group, the fidelity is not that important. What is important is the viewpoint, and do they get who you're doing? There's a lot of guys doing Arnold Schwarzenegger like this, when actually he doesn't actually talk so effusively at this point. So, it all depends on what the purpose of it is.
So you go to certain ones and you will fine tune them over the years?
Yeah, as needed, and as I like to, and as I get interested, and yeah, it's kind of a hobby that's become a career, and it's ancillary to my acting career. You mentioned I'm on Landman, and Landman is drama. I've done a lot of dramas over the years and comedies too, but not very few times have I been on camera imitating somebody. It does happen, but I'm mostly playing other characters, doctors, attorneys, and fathers and wives and husbands. Did I say wives? Not really.
That's a talent.
It's a talent. Darling.
Jim, I once again, it's always great to speak to you and to watch you put on a little show for us. And, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. I hope wherever you are that you turn the heat up. You're looking absolutely blue. You're bluer than the Blue Genie right now. If you realize it.
That's my favorite when you do Robin Williams. So many, but that would stand above the others.
Good. Well, if your listeners or your watchers ever want to contact me, go to jimmeskimen.com, and happy to share information with you.
And your Instagram, what's your handle?
It's at Jimpressions.
There you go. And,
see what I did there? See what I did? Jimpression. Yes. I combined, I conflated 2 words. It's marketing, Jerry. It's marketing.
Jim, thanks so much.
You betcha.
Jim Meskimen. And again, season 2 of Landman is streaming now on Paramount Plus. Once again, if you would like to tell us who should be a guest, or if you have any suggestions or questions, you can send me an email at herenowthenewsjb for my name at gmail.com. By the way, just want to take a moment to tell you about the show title, an homage to New York TV news anchor legend Roger Grimsby, which I turned into a comprehensive exploration of broadcasting news greats from the 70s and 80s over the decades. And that book is available on Amazon and elsewhere. You can find it on my website, jerrybarmash.com. Here Now the News. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Here Now the News.